Black Ops 1 was a major step forward for the Zombies game mode, and it's what truly solidified its identity. Moving into Black Ops 1, Jimmy Zielinski remained as creative director for the Zombies game mode, but Jason Blundell was given a promotion from producer to executive producer. This gave Blundell a lot more involvement in the creation process and more weight over the future of Zombies. This involvement would truly shine through later with Black Ops 2. Black Ops 1 started off strongly with 2 launch maps, Kino der Toten, which translates to Theater of the Dead, and 5. However, if you had pre-ordered the hardened or prestige versions of the game, you also got remastered versions of all 4 World at War maps. These maps were very similar to how they were in World at War, but with the addition of the new perks, the use of Black Ops 1's gun pool instead of their original, and some enhanced voice lines, textures, and lighting. Let's talk about the first launch map, Kino. Kino is unlocked from the very beginning and doesn't require any special conditions like its previous knocked counterpart. This map is set in an old German theater that was retrofitted from Group 935 experiments. These experiments would be filmed and distributed for propaganda during World War II. Near the end of the war, though, the theater would be abandoned, leaving the experiments to run amok. These experiments consisted of the usual Element 115 reanimation and teleporters, but there was a new type of experiment, Nova 6 gas. The biohazardous material would lead to Nova 6 crawlers, a form of new zombies that can crawl on the walls and ceiling and would explode into a poisonous gas if shot. I'm going to mention it here since we're talking about Kino first, but it was introduced to Black Ops 1 as a whole and not just Kino. Quick Revive was changed to not only allow for reviving friendlies faster, but it now allowed the holder to revive themselves when in a single player game. With this change, it's also the only perk that can be purchased while power is disabled. Another thing to mention here is the introduction of the new perk Mule Kick. Mule Kick would be added as one of the final updates for Black Ops 1 after all the Zombies maps were already released, but it was retroactively added to many of the maps, including Kino. Mule Kick allowed the player to hold 3 weapons instead of their normal 2, but they would lose their Mule Kick weapon upon being downed and losing the perk. There was a new wonder weapon added named the Thunder Gun. It was a 2-handed gun that would fire a concussive blast of sound, killing all enemies in its range no matter their health. You weren't allowed to manually reload it though, you were forced to fire the rest of the magazine to reload it. There was even a new power-up added called Death Machine that would give the player a limited time minigun. Kino also introduced a miniature Easter egg that could be activated. To access Pack-a-Punch, players would need to link and use the teleporter to access the camera room at the back of the theater. When teleporting out of the Pack-a-Punch room, each player would be teleported to a random room. These rooms could contain reels of film that, if placed on the camera in the Pack-a-Punch room, would begin playing a series of images on the theater screen. These images included a variety of research data, subjects throughout their transformation from corpse to zombie, and Group 935 logos. The rooms that the reels were retrieved from weren't entirely random. There were 3 locations you could be teleported to: Samantha's room, a medical office, and a creepy hallway. This would be the first occurrence of Samantha's room. So how does the map play into the overall story of our Ultimus crew? Ultimus, still consisting of Dempsey, Nikolai, Richtofen, and Takeo, would take a teleporter out of Derice. However, the teleporter would malfunction and send the crew to this theater instead of their intended destination. Quickly attacked by the rampant zombies, Ultimus would have to defend themselves while attempting to repair and take the teleporter back out towards their initial destination. That's it. There wasn't a lot of story info given in Kino, and the other side of launch wasn't much better. 5. A map based around the Pentagon. This map was earned by completing the campaign or breaking out of the chair in the main menu and using the cheat code to unlock everything. 5 didn't utilize the Ultimus crew as Kino had. Instead, the players were consisted of President JFK, Vice President Richard Nixon, Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara, and President of Cuba Fidel Castro. The map begins with a meeting of these 4 figures discussing the Cold War tensions when they're interrupted by a zombie outbreak. This outbreak is caused by the American-led experiments with Element 115 going on in the labs below the Pentagon. 5 reintroduced teleporters like Kino, but in a different aspect. Instead of a large device linked to a response pad like the Group 935 teleporters, they were a set of teleporter pads linked to each other that would send you to another pad randomly. Pack-a-Punch was once again locked behind a set of steps, but instead of linking a teleporter, the players had to find and use the switches around the map to heighten the DEFCON level until they could teleport into the Pack-a-Punch room, where they would be safe until the DEFCON level fell back to 5 and opened the doors. This map also used the new Nova 6 crawlers, but it went further and introduced a new special enemy, the Pentagon Thief. The Pentagon Thief is a Group 935 prisoner forced to do research for America. With the outbreak of the zombies, he escaped the labs and began teleporting around the Pentagon. During gameplay, he would appear and steal a player's weapon before running away, accessing teleporters to escape. If he escaped, the player's gun was lost forever. But if he was killed, they would get their gun back along with a max ammo and the all-new power-up Bonfire Sale. Bonfire Sale was similar to the old Fire Sale. It would unlock the Pack-a-Punch room and make it cost only 1,000 points instead of the usual 5,000. 5 also brought a new wonder weapon called the Winter's Howl. The Winter's Howl was a pistol-styled weapon that would fire a large buckshot of ice, slowing and freezing any enemies it touched before they eventually froze solid. There were 2 very tiny aspects of the map that really don't deserve a mention, but I absolutely love them for some reason. The first being doors in the upstairs office had glass initially, but after being broken through or shot out, would be repaired with wooden boards. It's a very minor detail, but I love it so much. The other was the pure ambience of the labs. Every aspect of the labs was built to be as creepy as possible and truly show the gruesomeness of the experience that were being conducted there. There's even a pig in one of the labs that you can hear squealing and can even be killed. With these 2 launch maps and potentially the other 4 World at War remasters if you had the special editions, Zombies fans were very well taken care of with the release of Black Ops 1, and it wasn't long before the release of DLC 1, First Strike. This DLC brought the new Zombies map Ascension. Ascension took the first step towards a long path of Easter eggs. This map introduced the first ever story Easter egg where every step along the way would introduce new story elements pointing the players into an actual narrative. The map was based around an old Soviet missile factory. There were lots of new additions and firsts. A new tactical equipment called the Gersh device, created by the newly introduced Dr. Gersh. Gersh was a Group 935 scientist who had worked alongside the Soviets in the Ascension group. His research was largely based around alternate realities, interdimensional phenomena, and black holes. Utilizing this research, he developed the Gersh device, a small metal box that could open and close a black hole on command, teleporting anything inserted into it to another dimension, the ether. I'll go ahead and mention here, this ether is the same crazy place that Dr. Maxis was teleported to during his struggle with Richthofen. Gersh had an assistant who worked very close with him, Yuri Kravchenko. Gersh utilized Yuri a lot closer to a butler than he did a colleague, so Yuri had a lot of resentment towards Gersh and his research. When Samantha entered the MPD, she began to give messages to Yuri and used her control over the ether to corrupt him into betraying Gersh. Knowing it was too early for testing, Yuri convinced Gersh to test his new device, knowing that it would probably backfire. This caused Gersh to get sucked into the ether and become trapped. This is where Ultimus comes in. We once again take control of Ultimus as we're teleported into this facility. Upon arrival, Gersh uses electricity to interfere with electronics around the crew and contact them to ask for help. The crew goes through with Gersh's plans and aids him in being freed, but he remains in the ether and disappears to another realm. The map introduced 2 new perks, PhD Flopper, which allowed players to dolphin dive from a higher place and deal AoE damage to zombies upon hitting the ground, and Stamina, which increased a player's movement speed and how long they could sprint for. There were also another tactical replacing the monkey bombs called the Matryoshka dolls. When thrown, it would separate into a bunch of dolls, each exploding in a large area. The map also introduced lunar landers, this map's replacement for teleporters. You could call and ride them from one of 3 points on the map back to the spawn room. The first time each was ridden to spawn, it would offload fuel into a rocket. Once the rocket was fully fueled, it could be launched from the power room, unlocking Pack-a-Punch. There was also a new style of dog rounds, where instead of dogs, it was cosmonaut monkeys. The monkeys wouldn't attack players though, they would attack perk machines that the players owned the perk for. If they dealt enough damage to the perk machine, all players who owned that perk would lose it until it was rebought. After helping Gersh, the Ultimus crew would teleport again, this time winding up in a Siberian facility on the new map, Call of the Dead. Call of the Dead was the Zombies map introduced with DLC 2, Escalation. This map was based around a forgotten Group 935 research facility frozen into a glacier with a lighthouse and a crashed ship. A film crew consisting of George Romero, Danny Trejo, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Michael Rooker, and Robert Englund would hear rumors of this facility and travel to this facility in an attempt to add real-life story to their horror film. Their filming would be cut short when they disturbed and released the frozen zombies. Players take control of this film crew attempting to survive while their now past director, George Romero, hunts them alongside the undead horde. George is the new special zombie, constantly following the players. If he catches up to a player or gets shot, then he will begin sprinting until he is led into the freezing water. This water would also damage players if they stood in it too long. George has a crazy amount of health, but if you can kill him, he drops the Death Machine power-up and a new free perk power-up. This free perk power-up gives the players a free random perk, and if a player already owns 4 perks, then they will have a 5th in addition to their other 4. Call of the Dead also introduced 2 new wonder weapons, the Scavenger and the VR-11. The Scavenger was a long sniper rifle. When shot, the bullet would stay in the ground for several seconds before exploding. The VR-11 was a small alien-looking gun that would turn zombies back into humans. If Pack-a-Punch, it would also deal massive damage to George. The VR-11 also allowed you to shoot another player and give them the effects of insta-kill for a limited time. The map brought back the zip line from Shi no Numa, but it also added a new jump pad that could be accessed after power was turned on. The Pack-a-Punch exists in this map like every prior map, but instead of completing steps to unlock it, it would simply teleport between a couple of set pools of water. You would notice this by looking up at the lighthouse and seeing that the light was directed at a point of water where the Pack-a-Punch was. This forced players to not only dodge their zombie hordes, but also place the gun to be upgraded, leaving the water and jump back to grab the gun before the gun would be deleted. Going back to the story, our Ultimus crew is teleported into a sealed room at the base of the lighthouse. The players would hear Ultimus asking for help, where they would need to turn the power back on and deliver Richtofen several parts to repair the teleporter with. The players would also need to retrieve the Goldenrod for Richtofen. The Goldenrod is a piece of alien technology that would later be used to generate Vril energy. We'll talk more about Vril energy in the next map. Upon receiving the Goldenrod, the Ultimus crew teleports again, moving to Black Ops 1's third DLC, Shangri-La. Shangri-La came with the DLC pack Annihilation. This map was based around a temple forgotten in the jungle after its ancient civilization collapsed. This ancient civilization had discovered Element 115 and worked with it alongside the Vril energy we spoke about. Vril energy is what allows someone to interact with the ether and utilize its power. The civilization was able to utilize this Vril energy with their focusing stone, a small stone that allows you to focus Vril energy out of Element 115. When Ultimus first arrives at Shangri-La, Richtofen quickly notices that the focusing stone isn't there. It was taken by a 2-man team of explorers years before. These explorers were Brock and Gary. Once noticing that it was gone, Richtofen would set out with Ultimus to utilize the ancient civilization's technology to travel through time to before the focusing stone was taken and steal it first. This Easter egg, and the map in general, is considered one of the hardest in CoD zombies even to this day. The map is very claustrophobic and the design could be considered mazy. Right off of spawn, if you went in one direction, it was filled with punji sticks that would stab the player if they didn't run through quick enough. The sticks would also temporarily block the path of anyone attempting to go through after the first person. The other direction was a pool of mud that extremely slowed player movement. There was a walkway of stone that the player could use instead of walking through the mud, but the path it would take was randomly determined and could lead you in the opposite direction of where you wanted to go. Accessing Pack-a-Punch was also a challenge. Each player would have to stand on a separate pressure plate. Once all 4 plates were pressed, the pyramid in spawn would open a staircase, allowing access to Pack-a-Punch. However, after some time, the staircase would disappear again, and a waterfall would push anyone still at the top back to the bottom. This meant that if you began Pack-a-Punching and were forced down, your gun would be lost forever. There were a couple of new zombie types as well. A new napalm zombie who would constantly be on fire, damaging players by just being near them. He would also explode into a small pool of fire when killed. Another new zombie type was the Shrieker. This zombie would be much faster than the normal zombies, while also performing screeches causing disorientation and blindness if a player was too close. Shangri-La also brought back the Ascension monkeys, but in a new way. Instead of cosmonauts, they were just monkeys from the jungle, and instead of attacking perk machines, they attacked power-ups. Once a power-up was dropped, a monkey would spawn to come and pick it up. If the power-up was taken by a player, that monkey would hunt down and attack the player who took it. If the monkey got to the power-up first, though, it would pick it up, constantly changing which power-up it was until it escaped. If the monkey got to the power-up, though, it would pick it up, constantly changing which power-up it was. The monkey would then run away and delete the power-up, but a player could kill the monkey, and whatever power-up it was cycled to upon being killed would be dropped. So players could utilize the monkeys to consistently get max ammos. Shangri-La also brought a new wonder weapon and new equipment. The Punji Claymore was a new Claymore equipment that instead of exploding would shoot a burst of punji sticks. The new wonder weapon was the 31-79 JGB-215, commonly referred to as the Shrinker Ray. It would majorly shrink zombies, allowing players to run through and punt them like footballs, killing them. There were also a couple of new movement mechanics. Geysers, which would allow the player to be launched to another area of the map when stood on, a minecart that could be ridden down a track to a new area, and a waterfall slide that could be slid down. And finally, there was a new trap that when activated would allow a waterfall to wash away everything that wasn't behind the wall with the activation switch on it. Once receiving the focusing stone, Ultimates would teleport again, moving to the final map of Black Ops 1. Black Ops 1's last DLC was Resurrection. Resurrection not only brought a new zombies map, Moon, which would complete the story, but it also allowed anyone who hadn't pre-ordered the special editions of Black Ops 1 to gain access to the World at War remastered zombies maps, Nacht, Verrückt, Shinonuma, and Deris. Moon as a zombies map feels a lot closer to the later Black Ops 2 maps than it does to its Black Ops 1 partners. This map was a major leap forward for what zombies would later become. The map was based around Griffin Station and the NPD. The map begins in Area 51, where the players need to teleport to Griffin Station. Before teleporting, the players are trapped in an infinite wave that continuously gets harder over time. This area is also where Pack-a-Punch is, and a random choice between Juggernog and Speed Cola. Every time the players would return to this area, which perk was there would be randomly selected again, not able to change until you teleported to the moon and came back. This allowed for players to get Juggernog and a Pack-a-Punch gun on round 1, though this is extremely difficult. Moon added a new wonder weapon, the Wave Gun. The Wave Gun could separate into dual-wielded pistols called the Zap Guns that fired ray gun rounds, or it could be combined into a rifle that fired an AoE blast. This blast would make zombies puff up before eventually exploding. Moon introduced some new gameplay mechanics like low gravity areas, oxygen levels, and excavators. Any area that wasn't pressurized would cause low gravity where the zombies would move slower. Depressurizing a room, though, would mean no oxygen, so a player would be required to wear a helmet to survive in the area. Excavators were created that would occasionally move to destroy an area, depressurizing it. The excavator would also stay in the area destroyed until someone used a new tool called the hacker device to hack a terminal in the spawn room. The hacker device could be used for more than just the excavators, though. You could use it to make the mystery box stuck in one place, you could re-roll the box for free, you could allow any player to pick up a gun that was rolled from the box, you could unlock a door for free, and you could cause the cage surrounding Pack-a-Punch to close temporarily, allowing you to Pack-a-Punch without worrying about zombies. The hacker device is a very powerful tool, but it takes over your helmet slot, so whoever was holding it would never be allowed to enter a depressurized area without dropping it for a helmet. There's an area at the back of the map called the Biodome. This area held a new movement mechanic called jump pads. These pads would cycle through which pads were on or off, allowing anyone who stepped on it to be launched towards the other ones. If the excavator hadn't destroyed the biodome and depressurized it, then the jump pads were more deadly than they were useful, since most people would miss the second or third jump pad and fall to their death. There was a new special zombie modeled after an astronaut. The astronaut would follow the players like George Romero, but upon catching a player would deal a large amount of damage to them, randomly teleport them, and remove their most recent perk. The astronaut would also have a name above it. If you were online, it would attempt to take the name of someone on your friends list, but if it failed to do that, it would pull a random Treyarch developer's name. If players were able to kill the astronaut, he would drop a random power-up. The Gurge device would make a return, but alongside it would also be a new tactical, the Quantum Entanglement devices, or QEDs. These were small objects that could be thrown and would give a random effect. The effects consisted of spawning allied zombies, random power-up spawns, random weapon spawns, exploding, reviving a downed teammate, teleporting players, teleporting zombies, giving a roll in the mystery box, taking a player's weapon, or literally nothing. The Easter egg for Moon is slightly difficult because of the amount of randomness needed to complete it, One of the first steps is waiting for the excavator to destroy Tunnel 6, but the excavators didn't activate until round 5 to 7. One of the 3 excavators would be chosen to activate, and another would be activated every 2 to 5 rounds. So, if you were really unlucky, you could have to wait until round 17 just to finish the 3rd step. Then, throughout the Easter egg, someone had to have pulled every special item from the mystery box: the wave gun, thunder gun, QEDs, and Gerst devices. Again, based on random chance, and could take a long time. One of the players would also need to have completed the Easter egg for Call of the Dead and Shangri-La prior to starting Moon, so they could be holding the goldenrod and focusing stone. The Easter egg consists of Ultimus working to power on the MPD using the focusing stone and goldenrod, combined into the Vril device. Placing this device in the MPD allows players to collect Vril energy by killing zombies, unlocking the MPD, and presenting Samantha. This allows Richtofen to jump in and swap bodies with Samantha, taking control of the zombies and the ether. After taking control of the ether, Richtofen launches all of Griffin Station's nukes, destroying the Earth to prevent anyone from ever being able to stop him. This marks the end of the ether storyline, at least Ultimus' storyline. Richtofen would make more appearances throughout Black Ops 2 via voice lines, but Ultimus wouldn't be seen again until Black Ops 3. Black Ops 1 didn't receive mod tools like World at War had, but some mods were still made, though much fewer. Kevin Sherwood would make a return with each Zombies map getting a song. The 4 World at War maps had their original songs, though Noct was given the instrumental Undone, whereas before it didn't have a song. Kino got 115, 5 received Won't Back Down by Eminem, Ascension got Abracadabra, playing on the magical term abracadabra and the word cadaver meaning dead body. Call of the Dead got Not Ready to Die by Avenged Sevenfold. Shangri-La had Pareidolia, and Moon received Nightmare by Avenged Sevenfold. Another thing I wanted to talk about slightly, Black Ops 1 introduced a new game mode based around zombies but not directly tied to the lore of it. This new mode was called Dead Ops Arcade. Dead Ops Arcade consisted of up to 4 players taking control of soldiers in a top-down gameplay where you would walk around shooting zombies as they came in waves. Once completing the wave, you would choose a direction to walk through, getting to a new area. This would continue endlessly, trying to get to the highest wave. There were some boss zombies like the Cosmic Silverback, a Cosmonaut Silverback Gorilla, probably based on the Ascension monkeys. There were also different weapon pickups, power-ups for faster fire rate, extra lives, spinning blades that would kill zombies who got too close, etc. The players could also pick up and earn money that would earn them extra lives once certain money thresholds were met. This concludes the story of Black Ops 1. Again, I'm thankful to anyone who watched this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by liking the video. If you hated it, leave me a comment for what you didn't like or what I could change in the future. I'd like to apologize for how long this took to make. I got very distracted between Thanksgiving, work, new games, and the new Zombies map on Black Ops 6 releasing, and just general laziness. I'm almost already done scripting up Black Ops 2 as I had worked on it before doing the World at War video, so I hope you all return for that. And I'll see you then.